term. All right. So then Neil Postman comes along. He's actually a kind of a sideways colleague of McLuhan's, and he writes in this area as well. But he has a little different way of looking at it. He says the mediums shape the message. There are these useful and interesting relationships between messages and content. I'm sorry, messages and mediums, content and mediums. It's not that the content doesn't matter, but what matters about it is that the medium shapes it. The medium makes the content conform to its preferences as a medium. So it changes the nature of the content, making it into something, because that's how the medium works. So for example, in the first 10 years of the internet, the standard rule for shooting video was hold the heck still. Why?
Low bandwidth.
And what would happen if your subject didn't hold still?
You'd have enough data so it blurred and you couldn't
You
see
get
anything.
a really choppy picture. It looked terrible. Now that you have wider bandwidth, right, that's breaking down. You can make real motion video, right? But that's the medium demanding what it demands. Right? So television gets done, the medium, right? Now there are different ways to do it, correct? But there is a medium here, because we have television in our country, different than television in Great Britain, different than television in South Africa. But we have a medium, right? And on our medium, how big are the segments in programs, roughly?
30 minutes. An hour.
No, this way.
I'd say like 15 minutes.
No, 7 minutes. Right? Because you take the 30-minute piece, you got 7 minutes, you got an ad, you got basically 7-minute swings. Okay? But 15 minutes, never more than 20 minutes. Okay? Unless you've got a special program of some kind. Okay? Can you do it another way? Anything keeping you from doing it another way? You could. Will it be successful? Because the medium dictates. Okay? Postman says television in America is for entertainment. If it's not entertaining, it doesn't get an audience, it doesn't stay on, off it goes. Okay? Which trivializes everything. So for Postman, this medium shapes the message, determines what happens to the content. You can't put content in every medium because not every medium prefers it. So for example, the biggest one I suppose is that television does not handle text very well. How long would you last watching a program, watching someone read? How long would you last watching a program that was just crawl? How long do you last when you watch a program that's really word-based? Not really image-based, no images really, no motion, really just talk-based, just words. And it isn't very long before you start to drop out. Very difficult for television to handle text-based content. That's not to say you can't. There are ways you can sort of massage it. But you're certainly not going to get a big audience on a big network and a regular program doing it. It's going to be really special. And if you test after, the day after, it's gone. It's just gone. Okay? There's a bunch of data on coverage of the Iranian hostage crisis. Nightly news, at least 2 hours every night for an entire year, with audience ratings up to here. I'm not going to say everybody watched, but I'll say everybody watched. Maps of where Iran was, charts of who the parties were in the thing, descriptions of who the people were and what sides they were on, what their ideology was and what they wanted and what they didn't want. 2 weeks after the crisis was over, Americans forgot everything they ever learned about Iran and the people in it. It's like you dumped them over and opened their head and it all just poured out. Okay? Television is not a very good medium for that. If you'd have bought everybody a really good book and they'd studied it really hard and given them a test, in 2 weeks they'd have remembered a lot more than they remembered from that year's worth of coverage on television. Because the medium shapes the message. Because after Iranian radicals kidnap 34 Americans, hold them hostage. Now, to meet your feminine hygiene needs, the medium doesn't support serious talk for Postman because it shapes its content into what is required for that medium, which is entertainment. Okay? Medium is the message. Medium shapes the message.